pretty obvious you guys, I feel like you have a lot to prove this year. That this is a motivated, annoyed group.
Yeah, you're not wrong. We got everything to prove. I think we've this is the first time in my career that we're going into this year probably not being a playoff team by a lot of people's metrics. We're a playoff team every day of the week, in my mind. I think we have more than enough. We have everything we need on this roster to be that. So that's the goal. And that's the objective, and our standards don't deviate regardless of what people think we may or may not be. We went out and got guys that are going to make us a tough team to play against. So I think we're going to buy into that as best we can. And I think our team objective is, we're going to be a tough out every time we play the Boston Bruins.
I think they are a playoff team. I have an Instagram post in my drafts. I've been waiting to post it, Kasey.
Oh.
It's not that special, but anyway, I have it because I've been waiting for training camp to say, like, hey, training camp officially starts today. But in my caption, which I've already curated, I say, sue me, but I do think they are a playoff team. I'm not saying they're going to make it out of the first round. I'm not saying they're not going to.
I like this
I'm
caption.
not even saying they're going to make it by 10 points. I think they're going to either make the playoffs or miss the playoffs by a couple of points. I think it's going to be, that's where I see it. But I like Charlie McAvoy's hunger and his drive, and he thinks they're a playoff team too. You need your players believing that. And yes. I don't think that's lip service. I believe that he actually feels that way. Your thoughts on his read?
No, I do think that it's a real feeling that these guys are having. I think Elliot put it perfectly in terms of like this being an annoyed group. Mm-hmm. And when you kind of have that frustration about you, that's just like, wow, everybody is so quick to tell us who we are before we fully can figure out who we are, display who we are. That puts a different kind of chip on your shoulder. We both have a lot of siblings. Like
we do.
I'm the youngest, you're the second youngest. And like growing up, it was just like, I had to tell my siblings, stop telling me who I am and what I'm going to do. And it made me a very competitive human being. So I can understand from my own positioning, just kind of how much that fires you up. And you're not just hearing it from Charlie McAvoy, you're hearing it from Zadorov, you're hearing it from Pasternak, you're hearing it from even the new guys coming in and being
from
like,
Sway.
Yeah, from Swayman, oh my gosh. Like, so you're just hearing it all around. And so for everyone to be on the same page of like, we don't like this feeling, we don't like you telling us who we are, we're going to show you something different. I feel like, again, desperate teams are dangerous teams, and you can never really identify how they're going to present themselves.
Let's show you guys the list of invitees to the Bruins training camp, the roster to the training camp, which opens up on Wednesday. There's a small font there, but you guys will be able to see it. I'm sure we will post it.
Oh, here we go.
No, we have it in our email. I just don't know if I want to go through everybody.
Who jumps out to you? Who do you want to see?
Well, we talked a little bit about Mate Blumel. Like, I kind of want to see the new guys more than the guys that I know what I might be getting out of, and I want to see certain combinations. As you guys mentioned, we talked about in rookie camp, like Locke Mellis is in there, Lysell. I think we expected that. Mate Blumel, Fraser Mitten's on here, Riley
Brown's
Tufte.
an interesting one to me.
Yeah.
And Riley Duran, we didn't touch on it in the first segment. Riley Duran actually had a good rookie camp, and Janelle talked highly about him, but he was referred to as someone who actually is very strong on the penalty kill, and he gave a lot of his penalty kill potential to Patrick Brown. Mm-hmm. So they work very well in tandem on the PK down in Providence. So seeing the team identity being, physical, hard to play against, obviously making sure that penalty kill is sharp. Patrick Brown and Riley Duran, that might be an area where they try to kind of, ramp up the competition to make a case for themselves.
Love it. And we also see Frederic Brunet, Ty Gallagher, Jordan Harris. I had that long interview with him. And then some of the goalies, Luke Calavan, Michael DiPietro, which we didn't really get. Maybe we'll do that in the upcoming podcast,
yeah.
right? But that's a name. We keep running out of time to talk goaltending, but Michael DiPietro. Simon, if I'm saying it in the Euro way, I think it's...
I say go for the Euro way. That is the way.
Zajic? I don't know. I'm going to have to ask him, but that's what it sounds like. Anyway, listen, we're talking storylines, so we just talked about the rookies. Here's one that maybe because you just got here last year, I definitely don't want to put you on the spot and like I can take this one away. But one that's like a sleeper. Every time we have a guest, we talk about what's Pasta going to be, what's Geeky going to be, what's going to happen. Someone we forget to talk about is Pavel Zacha, and to me, he could be a very impactful player. He had a contract extension with the Bruins recently. I think he had a down year according to what his expectations for himself were, but it really wasn't that bad. I'm just about to pull up, or if you want to pull up his points, that would help me. I think it was over 40, so that's nothing to cry about. But I think Pavel Zacha could be like a huge difference maker. And he was very, he's a very reliable, consistent guy. But I have a big question mark about him because he can absolutely, if he's playing to the best of his ability and the chemistry is there, like be a difference maker in a team as opposed to, I don't want to say just consistent and reliable because that's wonderful. Those are wonderful qualities, right? But you can also be like a really impactful player. So that's a sleeper for me. If you have anything about Zacha, great.
I like
if not,
that you went there. 47 points, so you were
so that's
right on with that.
47 points isn't a little.
Yeah, and then the biggest thing is sitting. So I mentioned a couple of times
And
for some of these
face-offs,
players when I first came in was like when you're forced to play so much defense and that's not natural to your skill set, then you're not going to be able to help put up points, obviously, but then you're not even going to be able to get to your game in order to help your team. And I think in a number of ways, Zacha kind of got really stuck in a defensive role, such as, or so did Elias Lindholm. And I think both of them kind of started to find more of their game towards the end of the season. He was also somebody that did help with generating certain rushes and stuff like that because he's got a good speed to him. So I like him being a step out player this coming season for sure because we don't like to dabble into rumor mills. So everybody just know that before I say this. But considering that when certain rumors were going about, there was value to Zacha's name if he was to be traded. And that's because of the skill set that is expected out of him. So now knowing that you're going into a training camp with this team, seeing that he started to pick things up towards the end of the season, I loved the take of like, keep an eye out on him.
Yeah, I definitely want to see what kind of player he's going to be because like I said, he can be he can impact a line and just impact a game and a shift and that's what you want. But let me also just go back to say 47 points is not not a down year.
Nothing.
But I think that maybe because everything was kind of falling apart around him, he kind of got buried in the headlines. I don't know. I'm excited to see Zacha. Kasey, again, because you're kind of newer here, I have so much bias on what storylines I'm looking for because of the history. As a newer person, what stands out to you? Is it the new additions, the guys you covered in Tampa? Is it goaltending? Like, what are you going to look for in training camp?
So I am going to keep an eye on some of the guys that I covered in Tampa, more closely Mikey Eyssimont, because I feel like he's kind of been one of those guys who's like, he's very much a systematic guy to where if he fits your system, he can flourish, he could be helpful. And kind of the Bruins saying that they're looking to get back to this formidable forechecking identity. Mikey Eyssimont very much fits the bill there. But I just love his relentless nature. I mean, for him to be a smaller framed guy, I know that Boston Bruins fans love that Marchand played bigger than himself. And like, whether you were a fan of the guy or not, you loved seeing that he played bigger than himself. And Eyssimont has that demeanor to him. He has the ability to play bigger than himself. He doesn't care what size somebody else is. He's going to take them on. There's footage. Please, everybody, take the time to go find it of him trying to take on Brandon Carlo when he was playing for the Lightning versus the Bruins. He tried to get under Pasta's skin, but we know that Pasta's not like your natural fighter. But he's not afraid to be physical. He's very relentless on the puck. He's great with forechecking, but it's just like any opportunity that presents itself, like loose pucks is probably like a steak meal to this kind of guy. And I feel like he's going to help be an Energizer bunny, and he's going to be one of those players that breaks any sort of stalemates that tend to take place. Because when you identify as a team that's hard to play against, you can kind of get stuck just being a little boring in a sense of like not generating opportunities or not kind of creating sparks. And I think he's a spark plug.
Yeah, okay. I love that. And we definitely, or the Bruins, we're missing a little bit of that. I don't know, we talked about training camp being a factor, Monty getting fired being a factor, Brad not having a contract being a factor, but there was a spark that was definitely missing, and you're going to want that. And if you want all your players to be able to do that at times, but I really like that read on him. Other storylines, I don't know if we need to get into this too much because it's obvious, but the goaltending.
Yeah.
Let's see, are they going to be sharing the net? I know it's Jeremy Swayman's job based on his contract, and they want to pay him as a #1 goalie, but is there going to be internal competition enough where maybe he, instead of getting 65 games, he's getting 54, whatever it is, right? And that is a big difference. So I'm really excited to see what the goaltending looks like in terms of tandem. And of course, Swayman, I think we talked about this already. head coach and what kind of style, what kind of language, what kind of culture, what kind of chemistry is going to be going on. Morgan Geekie is a big one. Is he going to live up, so to speak? And I didn't like using those words with him.
Yeah.
But like what kind of performance is he going to have? Charlie McAvoy, like all these players that I'm mentioning, let's recap. Swayman, Pavel Zacha, Charlie McAvoy, and Morgan Geekie, all kind of like question marks. If all of them perform to the level of their contract and health, like you're looking at a very different, very, very different team. And we're not even talking about other really important parts like David Pastrnak and, Hampus Lindholm and whatever.
Yeah.
This is like a very different team that, yes, all has to go well. But if that is going well, and that's what we bank on, it's not that these are difference makers.
Yeah.
These are difference makers in the NHL.
Absolutely. And I feel like they were coming into this with a different kind of weight on their shoulder. And then you've got guys who have like make or break coming into this training camp.
So that's another storyline for sure.
Yeah. That would be Kasey Middlestat, unfortunately. There's just so much expectation on him and why they brought him in, why there's patience behind his play, because when he does get settled into a rhythm, he does live up to, I don't want to call it hype. I mean, it's his skill set, a guy who's able to command in the middle of the ice, and they're just looking for him to help be that second layer of offense, if not more. And they know that it takes time. It took time in Colorado. It took time in Buffalo, but he doesn't have time anymore. So I feel like this is a training camp that's going to have a lot of eyes on like make or break, whether or not he can actually like do what needs to be done, because there's no runway here. That's probably one of the toughest things for this roster and for this training camp. Like a lot of these guys have zero runway to be like, hey, I can do this or I can't do this, because at one point I feel like they can turn the page and say, screw it. Let's let the younger guys just develop with these reps and like kind of start moving on. So there's just this weird tandem in terms of like which direction they're going to go in. And that's why this is crucial. So I feel like a guy like Kasey Middlestat, it's do or die. And I feel like with Tanner Jeannot, I know that he fits the bill for the physicality. He fits the bill in terms of what he can do. But there's just still too much conversation around the 20-goal scoring potential. So I feel like he kind of has to re-identify himself and then stand behind it, because he has to be impactful for this team because of the contract and because of the way that he came into the Beavers roster.
Yeah, and a lot of pressure, not to like transition, but just in terms of positions, a lot of pressure as well on Elias Lindholm. But we learned a lot about his injury and how he was actually feeling. You know what I mean? There was intel there. We already talked about it. It was a weird room to get into, moving for the first year, all this kind of stuff. And then he finished strong. So there's another player I forgot to mention that like was brought in on this contract to be like, you are going to be a difference maker. Let's hope that that happens. And same with Nikita Zadorov, who I do feel like is settling more into his
I think he's going to be awesome.
Role and his voice and everything like that. So like I'm barely, we haven't talked about all the guys on the roster, but we're talking about key players that could, if they're even, like I said, this like 50% better, could make a huge difference.
Absolutely.
With this team.
Absolutely.
We can still talk storylines, which we want to, but I did want to quickly, we don't have it to show you guys. I just wanted to go over the schedule. It looks like, so ice starts on Thursday at Warrior, and they're going to have Group A, Group B practices because there are so many guys at camp. And so we're going to see different combinations. But I'm going through it. I'm actually thinking about what day off am I going to have? I don't have one. It's going to keep going.
Like you said, social life, bye-bye.
Wait a second. I got to review the CBA because I know in the regular season the players get 1 day off a week from like practice, like they can't practice one. There is no day off here. So as of Thursday, September 18th, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Bravo.
Yeah, there are no days off. Oh wait, there is one. Tuesday, September 30th. They got a day off. So for the first week and a bit, we are going to be going pedal to the metal, and that means I gotta prepare for that because I was like, when am I going to get my stuff done? I don't see a space when I can do that, but that's good. We've been waiting to work.
Yeah.
Oh wait. My coach, my producer said, 24th? I don't see it, Brendan. Oh yeah. They're off the 24th as well. Either way, we're going to be getting a lot of ice time, and then of course we have preseason games that we are scheduling in there.
Yeah.
For your viewing pleasure, Nesson is going to be doing pre and post and intermissions for these games, okay? So the ones that we have, because we also share them with rights holders, just so you guys know, that is going to be our introduction, hosted by yours truly over here, but we're going to have like full shows around that so you guys get to know the players a little bit better. Kasey, we might have to send it to break. I'm going to, as usual, I'll give you one more chance to say final thoughts about like what you're expecting out of camp.
I think it's just
We're good?
seeing what goes down.
Yeah?
At this point. Yep.
Okay, well, come with me, all right?
Yes.